If you're happy with the same old ways of dating,
If you enjoy sucking at communication,
and you have no desire to improve your romantic life, then our podcast might not be for you.
but if you want some out-of-the-box ideas to deepen your current relationships,
broaden your sexual horizons,
develop a better understanding of yourself,
or learn more about non-monogamy,
Then you've come to the right place. I'm Jase,
I'm Emily.
and I'm Dedeker.
and this is the Multiamory podcast.
Songs I know I did, forcing me to form myself to fit.
On this episode of the Multiamory podcast, we are talking with author Eri Kardos, whose book Relationship Agreements comes out today on the Tuesday when this episode comes out. And it is available for free just today on Amazon for the ebook version. And if you're not listening to this on the day this episode comes out, first of all, where have you been?
Where have you
been?
But second of all, you can still get her book. Obviously, it's just not going to be free. But we still recommend checking it out. We're looking forward to that interview. But before we get into that, I just had two things I wanted to talk about really quickly. One is that we wanted to say thank you to those of you who participated in the march in the U.S., wherever you are, to help
Or
fight
across
for...
the world.
Across the world,
You guys
yeah.
are freaking amazing.
Yeah,
And thank you.
We had some people that we know who got arrested.
Yes.
during while marching.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Super badasses.
So thank you for
To
doing
clarify,
that.
arrested while peacefully protesting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why they're
protesting,
awesome.
yes.
They weren't like rioting and looting, and we don't think that's
Right.
awesome.
No,
That's
but
not
still.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, for those of you who are able to come and see us live in Seattle, Portland, Oakland, California, Berkeley, California, Los Angeles, or San Diego, our tickets now are on sale for all of those venues except for San Diego. We still are working on that one. And we also just did our first live show here in Los Angeles for a little private audience.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
It was
Went
so much fun.
well.
It went
So
great.
much fun.
Thank
Good
you
Lord.
to everyone
Yeah.
who was there for that. So much
Had a
fun
blast.
talking about poly and the media. And that's something that we'll eventually release as an episode so you guys can watch it even if you weren't there. But we're super excited about this tour. It's going to be awesome. If you go to multiamory.com/events, you can see the event calendar of all the places we're going to be. We're going to be speaking at a conference in Berkeley, as well as doing a live show in Oakland. We're doing a Valentine's Day show in Seattle. The day before Valentine's Day, we're going to be in Portland at the Fremont Theater, which is a really cool venue. And then we're going to be back in LA, in North Hollywood after that. All of this is in February. We're really excited to see all of you there, get to connect with the community, and of course, go out for drinks after all of the shows. So we hope to see you there. Get your tickets now, though, because they already are starting to get a little bit low in numbers left.
Yeah, which is
So
crazy
it'll-
I
exciting.
think we have less than 10 tickets left for the Los Angeles
Oh,
What,
show.
seriously? Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah.
So go
get on it,
get your
guys.
tickets now. I don't know about the other cities because I don't get numbers for them because the venues are selling the tickets. But if that trend is consistent, definitely get your tickets now.
Yeah.
We're really excited to see you. And with that, let's get on to the interview.
Woohoo.
And here we are with Eri Kardos. Thank you for joining us.
Hi guys.
Hello there.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show.
So could you give us a quick kind of introduction of yourself rather than me trying to like read your bio? If you could just kind of tell us what it is that you do. What are you all about?
Sure, though I do think it'd be really entertaining to hear you read it.
And then
So yeah, my name is Eri Kardos, and I'm an international coach and speaker. I'm based in Washington currently, but my family and I are on the road all the time, at least 50% of the time, raising a family and coaching and speaking. My husband's also a coach, speaker, and author.
Nice.
So I work mostly with people in relationship, or who want to be in a relationship. So I spend a lot of time looking at communication skills and how do we handle conflict and exciting topics like that. My background is in leadership development. I came from Amazon.com, where I was there for 5 years plus, working with some amazing leaders within the IT industry, and just discovered a passion for working with folks in their whole lives, not just their careers, but what is the whole person like? How their relationships at home, and how do they impact things at work, and that interplay, which is really sexy and exciting to me. So next thing I knew, I was working with clients all across the IT industry mostly, and then eventually that expanded. But I had clients at Google and Microsoft and Facebook and Amazon and all that.
Nice.
And
Cool.
then decided, this is so cool. This whole coaching thing. Like, I don't have to like get out of my pajamas if I don't want to.
Yeah. How awesome is
I mean,
that?
that's what success is to me. Honestly.
Exactly.
Right? And I can work from anywhere in the world. Like, I remember this day I was sitting on a beach in Cape Town and I'm taking a call with a client. I'm like, yeah, this is what I've been wanting to do.
Nice.
Exactly.
Meaningful work from really cool places with really cool people that I get to choose to work with that is going to leave an impact. So
Yeah.
that's a bit about me.
Fantastic. Well
Excellent.
done.
Yeah, so to give our listeners a little insight, the way that we met Eri is we first connected with her when she was in Los Angeles, and Eri facilitated this great discussion group for one of the largest local poly meetup groups in LA. That she came to talk about her new book, which is coming out on Tuesday. Today, by the time that you guys listen to this.
Yeah.
Today, yes.
And to, kind of tell people about how relationship agreements can really help, particularly in a non-monogamous format. But you giving your background, actually, I really wanted to ask, what was the moment, what was the catalyst to take you from, working with Amazon and working in IT to working in romantic relationships and talking about emotions and sex and all these things.
You don't see that clear connection?
Yeah.
So my background before this is in sexual psychology and international business, both.
Oh, lovely.
And I focused in leadership development, but I worked all over HR. So I was constantly working with people. And once trust was established and doors were shut, we'd talk about everything.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just, are your groups on track? So I've always had a passion for hearing about where is your heart, where's your soul, where's your mind, how can we link them all together and get where you want to go?
Yeah.
It just isn't so evident when you say you work for corporate America all
No.
the time.
Right.
Not
Of course.
everybody wants to go there.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a really natural progression, and I was already doing so much in our community outside of Amazon where that fit. I was naturally coaching people and just being a part of a beautiful, intricate community in Seattle of people of all relationship structures, whether it's monogamy or polyamory or just some unique form of open relationship.
Right.
So,
Right.
That's awesome.
we have a really amazing group up here called Relationship Anarchy, which is
Yeah, we're
almost
familiar with
1,000 people, right now in terms of members, and it's one of those places where I send people no matter what their relationship
nice.
is.
Oh, nice.
Most
Oh,
people
cool.
identify as open, but you don't have to be. I'm like, the thing is that these people are gathering to have meaningful discussion
Yeah.
and figure out their relationships and what are tools that actually might work, because a lot of what we're given in mainstream culture doesn't work.
Yes.
The story that all you have to do is find your prince or princess charming and you're done.
Exactly. Exactly.
We all know how that story turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that you mentioned in your book is, pointing out this idea that we kind of have to step away. You specifically said, stepping away from our understanding of how things should work and focusing more on, what actually does work. And, when creating relationships, obviously we move very much in the community of people who've chosen to really step outside the box, and abandon monogamy and abandon sexual exclusivity and all of these things.
And the relationship escalator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so very much in this community that does have to figure out, now we don't have a script, so now where do we turn to? Now we really do have to figure out, what does feel good, what doesn't feel good, and kind of make decisions from there.
Yeah.
And
Totally. And this is a choose your own adventure, and you're choosing every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. So something that we really enjoy on this podcast, and which I really enjoy personally, is I really enjoy applying left-brain processes to right-brained emotions and right-brained relationships. So
already talking sexy.
Yes, exactly. So on our podcast, we've talked a lot about things like running Agile Scrum on your relationships.
Yeah, we love that.
And different communication
You
hacks.
guys are nerdy.
So nerdy.
Why aren't you in Seattle?
Yeah. And different, communication hacks that you can apply when you're in conflict or things like that. And so, of course, we love this idea of kind of formalizing relationship agreements. what I've experienced in my own life when I talk to people about these things, I mean, maybe some of you guys have gotten this too, is some people are like, well, that's weird. That seems like it takes the magic away. Like, that seems robotic. Like, why would you do that? I mean, have you guys gotten that response at all? It's like people either love it or are really turned off by it.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about, like, doing things like Agile Scrum and kind of having a specific, like, we go through these steps every month when we have our relationship meeting. And it just seems like, to some people, like you're saying, it's this really exciting thing. And to others, it's like, they have this idea that in order for a relationship to be good, it should all be spontaneous. Like,
that that's the marker that the relationship's good, that it doesn't take work.
Right. Or that it all happens without
it should be the Hollywood movie, though.
Yeah, and that they don't want to rock the boat.
The work should have been in finding your mate, and now it should all be fun and romance and passion all the time.
Right, exactly.
So I guess my question would be, you know, when you're telling people about your book or when you're working, you know, coaching people, how do you mitigate that? You know, kind of how do you warm up people who see this as like, this is weird and corporate and awkward?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I also find it's a very there are often some characteristics of people for whom this is a harder idea.
Yeah.
And being the daughter of a lawyer,
no wonder, it all makes sense.
I can understand that this is really scary for a lot of people too. And I find that most of the time it's either it's this fear of loss of the story, right? This easy, beautiful package that we're sold. And that's really hard. You have to grieve that. The fact that a relationship might take work. Even if you ask them how did it work in the past with other relationships and how long have your relationships lasted and how fulfilling were they? You know, the truth is they're still hoping for that thing that we were taught when we were younger. So kind of like starting to pull apart their own story instead of the thing they were fed and they're still looking for helps a lot, I've found, but it takes time. Yeah, as you know. And then also just creating more space for curiosity. I think that a lot of people are set in this idea that this is how it's going to be, and we should just start saying, okay, well, what if we just tried some baby steps? I mean, you don't have to like sit down, and it's probably not the monster that you've created in your head about writing out a whole relationship agreement. All we're going to do is sit at a boardroom table and debate for like 4 hours, right? Instead, we're going to have a lot of fun. And what if we did this in baby steps, bite-sized chunks, where you do all the things you love in between, even if it is like, I don't know what the heck we're going to do. We're going to do something spontaneous, and we're going to go have fun, and we're going to try out this new sex toy, and we're going to go watch this movie together we wanted to watch, and then we'll come back and talk about another topic that has been on our hearts and minds anyways. We're having conflict over potentially. It's there. We just are trying not to look at it. It's like the elephant in the room. It's like, let's just bring it out, and chances are the landmine explosions will be far less, with far less shrapnel, far less injury, and a lot more happiness. So you have more room for the fun, passion, romance, romantic fun, stuff that's going on that you want to be there.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
I so appreciate you talking about the work that is involved within relationships, because I think that we all have like this preconceived notion that once you find the one, that it's just going to be easy and magical. And so many people kind of go against the work that is involved with that, because they're like, well, if you were right for me, then it would just be a no-brainer. It would be super simple.
And I'm not going to say that the magic is impossible for anyone.
Sure. However.
And in most cases, and this is working with clients who are over 70 years old too, and have been with people, with one partner for a very long time, it often comes down to how involved are you in each other's lives and how deep is your relationship. Because if you're okay having more of a surface level relationship and putting your energy and your priority towards something else, your relationship can be a piece of cake.
Interesting.
That's true. That's very true.
Maybe, or at least for a little while. But unfortunately, people don't stay static, or maybe fortunately, I don't know, both. People don't stay static all the time, right?
Which is another thing that I think people are also afraid of with relationship agreements, is the idea that if we write this down, I'm locked in forever. Sure. This is like a legally binding document.
No, you said it's a living agreement.
The point of this is to allow you to grow, your partner to grow, your partners to grow, to let your relationship expand and contract as it needs to, and just be open and honest about it. instead of getting in silly fights about where things are at or not at. You know, you just get stuck, and you don't want to be stuck. You want to be agile. You want to be all over the place and have a lot of fun together.
Yeah. It's I liked how, you know, since you're talking about getting into fights and you mentioned about, you know, dealing with landmines, something that I found, you know, like doing like monthly check-in meetings or things like that, you know, creating this safe space to bring up things, that there really can be this ingrained sense of like, yeah, there is this elephant in the room, but like I actually don't really want to deal with it until it becomes a landmine, then we'll deal with it. That it's like we're so scared sometimes to actually bring up things that we know are sensitive subjects when things are safe. We just want to bring it up when it's emotional and dramatic. And I think that's another thing that's probably confronting to people in creating relationship agreements, is this idea that it's you know, having to talk about uncomfortable subjects that I'd rather just talk about in the context of an argument than actually tackle head on right now.
Yeah.
Well, I think also for a lot of people, it's if this is something that leads to arguments, there's this idea that like, we're doing okay right now. I don't want to bring it up and talk about it because that means we're going to argue again. Like,
I'd rather rock the boat.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
We'd like to take a little break and talk to you about Adam and Eve. It is our oldest sponsor. We love them dearly. And they have a special Valentine's Day offer going on. So if you go to adamandeve.com, you get 50% off of one item,
as well as the free romance kit, which involves something fun for him,
a special massager for her,
and something that the both of you can enjoy together.
Then you also, get a free DVD and free shipping.
No, to be fair, they have not said what kind of DVD. Usually it's pornographic DVDs.
I'm assuming it
Maybe
is.
It's a DVD of
like Deep Impact or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Armageddon.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, those both could be the names of porn movies.
That's true.
Right.
Armageddon.
Yeah,
that's good.
So enter offer code MULTI, that is MULTI, at adamandeve.com to get your free gifts and free shipping and 50% off of one item.
Which is great.
Yeah, so this is just for Valentine's Day. So this expires on Valentine's Day. So if you've been putting off doing a Multiamory promo code for Adam and Eve and you want to do something special for Valentine's Day, go check this out. Yeah. Also, we want to give a shout out to our amazing patrons out there.
We just hit our goal of $500 a month.
I know, guys, that's a big milestone for us, so thank you so much.
It's so funny because like we've already started planning out a tour. We've already have several in-person events, but our goal for $500 was like, when we finally make $500 a month, we'll create an in-person meetup. So now we're finally allowed by the board of directors of Patreon to create an in-person meetup.
So we're gonna be doing, since we're already doing that, we do want to celebrate this $500 mark. So we've been discussing like, what are some events that we can put on. Could we do more events than we already are in addition to the tour? So anyway, we're really excited to have that opportunity to bring more events to you. So this is all through our Patreon, which you can get to at Patreon, patreon.com/multiamory, and you can choose an amount of money to give to this show to help support us to keep doing this. This is something where every single dollar of that goes right back into the show. It's going into allowing us to do this tour, booking venues, traveling to different cities. We'd love to keep expanding this so we can go do the rest of the U.S. and go internationally, and also put on other events that are more like workshops and educational events in addition to doing this tour for our show. And Patreon's been an amazing way for us to connect with our community through our private Facebook group that's only available to people who are patrons who pay $5 a month or more. And then also our monthly discussion group, which is for patrons who choose to do $9 a month or more.
Which is coming up on February 4th.
Yes.
This is our next discussion group.
And it's just been so great to connect with that community and to also know that there are people who get something out of this. And if you're one of those people, we really appreciate your support of the show. It helps us to keep doing this and to know that there are people that actually want to hear this stuff that we're doing.
And you can even do $1 a month. That's like 25 cents per episode of the podcast that you listen to.
Yeah.
Even just $1 a month still helps us out and also lets us know that we're doing something that's helpful and entertaining for you.
Yeah, definitely. We really appreciate it. So the last thing we want to talk about before we get back to our interview. is Dedeker's book.
Yes.
Oh my god, you guys, like people, so those of you who pre-ordered a physical copy on Amazon, quite to my surprise, got your copies mega early. Like
Yes,
2
Amazon
weeks.
decided to ship them way
Like
early.
a whole 2.5 weeks before the actual release date. So I
Yes.
was not mentally or emotionally prepared for people to be sending me like selfies with their book, to even hold the book in my hands.
Yeah.
Like that was a crazy day for me. I fell apart multiple times. There were like
Yeah.
all the feels and all the
So did
cries. And it's just been so amazing. So for those of you who have not pre-ordered your copy yet, you can pre-order it either digitally or a physical copy through Amazon. You can find a link in our show notes to get that.
And it officially comes out on February 7th.
Yeah.
So if you ordered the ebook version, which I also ordered, I ordered both.
Yeah.
Physical
Oh,
and the
really?
ebook
Yeah.
but those will come to your Kindles or whatever device you read these on the 7th of
And
February.
honestly, I think if you go to Amazon right now and pre-order a physical copy, you'll still get it early
Right,
as well.
I think
They're
so.
like they're shipping it out right now because they want to have warehouse space and
Yeah.
it's moving like hotcakes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it's awesome. Also, we've been getting great feedback from our listeners about the book. Just they couldn't put it down, that they love it. It's all
It's
the stuff
great.
that they wish that they had known as a teenager, that they wish like, okay, I need to pass this on to all the girls in my life. So it's a really exciting thing and is great for men as well. I should clarify.
Of course.
It's the Smart Girl's Guide to Polyamory, but I know a lot of guys, including myself, who've gotten the book, and it's just great stuff in general about
Yeah.
polyamorous relationships.
Obviously, incredibly well written.
Yes.
Well done.
Stop it, you guys. Oh, shucks.
Yes, it's true.
All right, and before Dedeker starts crying again, let's go back to our interview.
Back to you, Eri.
We've talked, we talk a lot on this show, and I feel like people within the non-monogamy community seem to be a little bit more willing to look at these sort of out-of-the-box things and like new techniques and stuff like that. And what we were talking about before having this interview with you was how your book is this nice way of bridging this gap between techniques that work in traditional relationships with techniques that may be pulled from non-monogamy, but not having to be a book about polyamory. That like Dedeker was saying, she's like, this is a book I feel like I could give to monogamous friends who I think could benefit from some out-of-the-box thinking or kind of getting out of that traditional relationship advice, but that's not actually a book about poly itself. Like they don't have to take that scary step of like giving their girlfriend
Like
a
polyamorous
book about
or something.
polyamory.
Yeah.
I want to
It's
open
not
a
like
relationship.
handing somebody a book of like when someone you love is kinky and you're like, oh gosh.
You're like,
right? Yeah, exactly. And that was my hope when I set out to write this book. It was very much a how can I create this bridge? Because I work with people of all types all over the world, and it's not polyamory, open relationships, ethical non-monogamy. These are not paths for everyone, but they are paths for a lot of people. And a lot of the people who have chosen them have done some freaking hard, off the beaten path work. That won't get recognized or brought into our larger culture because it's laden with scary words and landmines. People are like, oh God, you said this thing. And if you say it, it's not, I can't even listen to you.
Right. Stop
So
listening.
instead of
Exactly.
at the
Totally.
wall.
Yeah.
And I also find, I'm not as much, but I do find that oftentimes people who are out in their loud and proud poly, like mode, will often shut out a lot of mainstream ideas too. It's the same on both sides.
That's
It's like,
true.
we have to stay with our people, stay with our tribe.
Right.
Which there's a lot of benefits and beautiful things that can come out of that for sure. But what happens if we started crossing these more often with more open dialogue around what could happen and how they can benefit everyone instead of like staying in our camps. And if it doesn't work for you, let it go. You don't need to believe everything in this book.
Sure.
You don't have to believe everything I say, right? It's take what works for you and get rid of the rest.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah, we've definitely found, kind of like you were saying, that in the years that we've been doing this podcast and educating people and stuff like that, that more and more a lot of the answers to things, when people ask questions about polyamorous relationships, you're sort of like, well, think about it the same as you would think of any other relationship.
Yeah.
That there's really not as big a difference as people think
No.
between
Yeah.
these ways of doing things. That relationships between people are still just that.
Yeah, there's a lot of common ground for what it takes for a good relationship and good
Of course.
communication.
That there's a lot more common ground than there are differences.
Yeah.
Which is nice because I think
Yeah.
you do write your book in a very accessible way, that it doesn't matter what your relationship orientation is or your sexual orientation is, or even if it's romantic or not,
Yeah.
that you can still apply
Yep.
these principles,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
And this book is really written for people in some sort of romantic relationship, but again, most of the tools can be used across the board. And I've
Yeah.
helped people
Sure.
create divorce plans with it and
Wow.
parenting
Nice.
plans
Wow.
with it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how do we just grow better as friends with it?
Sure.
And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, there's so much potential here, and a lot of the tools came from working in HR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you,
Yeah, that
right?
makes
So
sense.
it's taking and bridging a bunch of different worlds in one
Nice.
place.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
great.
Yeah.
So I want to bring in the thing in your book that shows up even in the first chapter that we debated
talked about,
the most.
yeah,
Fred. Can you for our listeners, can you explain the concept of Fred?
Yeah, I was curious where we're going to go with this one. Sure. So, Fred is this idea that there's, again, and this is really targeted towards anybody can read this book, right? But I think most of us were raised with this idea that there's one person and there's me and we get together and we're this thing. And I think we often lose ourselves in relationships as a larger society. I think people get lost.
Yeah.
So for me, I met this lovely couple who's really been a great influence on me as an individual and as a parent. And they had on their calendar, I noticed one day that every Saturday they we're taking Fred to the zoo. I was like, who is Fred? And why are you going to the zoo every Saturday? And their idea was that it's not just about them. It's not just about her and not just about him, but it was about them as a couple. And in joining together, it created a unique third entity, which was, for them, Fred, which was a little blue monster about 3 foot tall and really cute. And it helped them think about this idea that you need to be constantly keeping Fred in mind and nurturing him and feeding him and investing in him. And if you don't keep Fred in mind, he can get lost or he might not grow up the way that you would hope. You don't want to sit back one day 20 years down the line and be like, I missed that.
Oh yeah, we left Fred
That's
in the
where
back
Fred
of our car.
came from.
Yeah.
And so now I loved the concept, and I asked if I could use it, and they said yes, of course. And now
Lovely.
I have clients who have their own Sally, and they have pictures
Okay.
of Sally drawn hanging in their living room.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it's just a little way of remembering that your relationship is important and it's outside of both of you.
Yeah.
And it's worth investing in. How
Yeah.
can you invest in this?
Yeah. So I mean, we talked about Fred so much
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
all of us got something very different out of that example.
Definitely.
Right. For me, the things that I liked about it were I do like that idea of almost that it's like your little baby that needs care, that it's like you don't have the baby and then you're done. You have the baby and then you still got to nurture and take care of the baby for a long time, and so that was very much what I got out of it. But you guys had very different interpretations as well.
I really appreciated the fact that, if my partner and I have challenging times communicating with one another, he tends to be a teacher and I tend to be a spewer and just want to get all my emotions out there. I don't have to feel as though he's kind of talking down to me or being condescending or anything. It's like he's trying to help the relationship along and move that forward, as opposed to telling me you need to be patronized in this moment or something. And that was really cool. Yeah, I really appreciated the idea that it is a separate entity and that someone helping you along is not just saying you're a bad person, but rather let's figure this out together. Yeah, that was really cool for me.
Cool.
So thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Jase?
I was the one who was the least into it. I'm just going to be honest right there. And my
It's
concern,
okay.
and actually what's interesting is hearing you explain it just now in the interview, I actually found an access point that I do really like about it.
Oh, lovely.
That I didn't get from that section in the book.
Okay,
Interestingly
cool.
enough.
This is why you have second editions.
Was that for me, I felt this sort of concern of that by being able to think of things you're doing as being in service of Fred or you know, or of whoever this creature is, or this thing, that it can, like, that it could allow you to put a ton of work into a relationship that's not actually effective for your partner. Like the example of, say, you know, my, you know, love language is acts of service, and for my partner that like really doesn't do anything for him or her. And so I keep doing this and they don't appreciate it, and instead of addressing that problem, I go, oh, well, I'm doing it for Fred, or for, you know, for the relationship. So to me it was a little bit like, I had this feeling like, I don't know, like I kind of feel like it's like taking away from some of the responsibility of dealing with those things.
Yeah.
But I will say, from the way you described it just now in the interview, the thing I did really like was using it in the sense more of just like as a way to remember this is something we have to maintain. That, for example, you know, in my relationship with Dedeker, we do this podcast together. We have some other like business things that we do together, and we both have our own projects that we support each other on. And it's easy for us to get caught up in just work all the time, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think when Emily and I lived together, we fell into the same traps with certain things of just, it's all about the pragmatic day-to-day rather than taking Fred to the zoo or, you know, doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I do like that concept of it, and I didn't get that as much from the chapter, but I do really appreciate that way of thinking, like, oh, we got to be sure we give enough attention to help guide this thing and raise this to be what we want it to be.
Yeah. And we did have a conversation of like, okay, so if we had a Fred, like,
what would ours
what would
look
it be?
like?
And like, I wanted it to be like, like tiny and cute and like Japanese, like with big like anime eyes,
like a Japanese mascot.
Yeah. And then we're like, but does it have a gender? I don't know.
Yeah, we got really stuck on the gender thing.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is like, that's beautiful. If nothing else, whether the concept of Fred works for somebody or not, no matter how they interpret it, it's is it sparking new ways of thinking? Is it sparking new dialogue? Are you finding out that yours is actually a Japanese anime character? You know, like, this is great stuff. And if nothing else, you had fun talking about and dreaming about this idea for like a minute.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday over lunch.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we're starting to wrap up here. So, you know, usually whenever we have a guest on for interview, we leave the classic multiamory question is we kind of ask our guests, like, what's one thing that, you know, a person can do or one of our listeners can do?
Yeah, like what's one actionable thing that our listeners could go home and do today? Right? Aside from go and get your book.
Today is Tuesday.
You're right.
Today is Tuesday.
So go get the book.
You can go online to Amazon.com and you can look up relationship agreements and get your free copy of this book.
And it's free. It's only free on Tuesday.
Now for free. Today only.
Right.
Because I want all of you to have this tool.
Lovely.
And inside of it is probably what I'm going to blurt out in a moment as your one thing. So you might as well just go get the whole thing for free anyways.
Yes.
Let's see. One thing. It's hard to choose just one. Isn't that why we usually do multi stuff, right?
Sure.
Well, usually to frame it a little bit better is usually the question we ask is specifically like, what's one piece of advice you would give someone who's considering a non-monogamous relationship?
That helps make it.
That helps make it.
Yeah.
Do your self work. That would be it for me. I mean, there are so many things you can do, and so many things you do as a couple and as a triad and a quad. And your cule, like there are so many things you could do. But at the end of the day, if you're not going inside yourself and doing the hard work and digging out all the skeletons in the closet and asking yourself the tough questions of, are the stories that I'm carrying currently serving me? Are the tools that I've been using still the tools that I should be using, or should I get some new ones? If you don't look at yourself and do that, you can't bring it back to the world, back to your relationships, and expect there to be a healthy outcome. So it's really about looking at yourself, doing some introspective work, continue to do personal development, and figuring out what's next for you so that it has a ripple effect outward.
Lovely.
Definitely.
That's great.
Excellent. So, Eri, where can our listeners go to find more of your stuff?
Great question. Well, you can go to my website, which is erikardos.com.
Can you spell that for us?
If you can't figure out how to spell Eri Kardos because you're listening in, I totally understand. And so I'll make it easier. It's relationshipagreements.org. It'll link there too, which is great. And then again, today is Tuesday. It's my official launch day of my book, and I'm super stoked. And one of my goals of writing this and spending so many hours and putting into this, and years putting into this book, was to make it a very accessible tool for people. So the fact that I can give it away today feels really, really important to me.
Lovely.
So I'd say please
awesome.
go to Amazon, download the free ebook, and if you decide you want a paperback copy, you can buy one then too, and it'll stay up on Amazon, I hope, for a long, long time. But please tell your friends, tell your communities about it today, because this is the day when it's free, and that's really
fantastic.
Get it out there. I'd rather be out there in the world.
Yeah.
And
right.
For our listeners who are coming to this later than Tuesday, if they didn't listen to it the first day it came out,
you can still get it. It's just gonna be free. I know. It's gonna actually cost a little money, because I probably should pay my editor and my designer.
Those people are probably
exactly.
Well, so if you are getting
and,
this after Tuesday, just know you're supporting her designer and editor. And
Eris.
That's
That's
I have an
important.
awesome global team: designer in Sweden, formatting team in India,
nice.
marketing person in Florida. It was crazy.
Goodness.
And
so much that goes into
this week, today the book is coming out, obviously, but then in about 2 weeks from now, I have another baby being born.
Oh my goodness.
An actual
baby,
one.
like an actual human baby. Yeah.
Yeah, like another son is coming
Wow.
to join our family.
Congratulations.
Really exciting. So I also want to let Amazon run with this, and let the world run with this, and not have to worry about too much funneling after this.
Right.
Understandably so.
Nice.
And one other thing, I don't just do the book. So if something resonates with you today, anybody on the show, whenever you hear it, and you want to talk more, please reach out. Again, relationshipagreements.org is an easy way to reach me, and we can talk about what coaching looks like. I do it with folks all over the world, and would love to hear more about what's going on in people's lives wherever they're at.
Excellent.
Very cool.
Well, Eri,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your book with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank
This was
you.
fun.
All right. We hope to talk to you again soon.
So thank you guys so much for listening. Go check out Eri's book for sure. If you want to find more of us, you can go to multiamory.com. You can email us at info@multiamory. You can follow us on social media, on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the Instagram. If you search for Multiamory, you can find us. If you go to multiamory.com/events, then you can find out more about our super exciting West Coast tour that's coming up in February, and find where you can buy tickets for that.
Yes.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, this is Dan Savage from the Savage Lovecast and Savage Love, and you're listening to a Swing Set podcast at Swing Set FM.